Thank you, Genesis Gold Group, for sponsoring this video. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when is it going to happen to you? That's the question, and that is what we all must prepare for. This is going to continue to happen more often, I predict. And when more voices of dissent arise to where they have a platform where more people are listening to them and are waking up to the fact that we have been taken over by corporations that are adhering to ESG, SDG, and now rebranded to CIC, which are orders given by the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, etc., they are going to be deplatformed as well. Not only on social media, but they will have their lives demonetized, just like what's been going on here in the last couple of months. I'm not a financial advisor, but the folks at Genesis Gold Group specialize in helping those who want to diversify their excess wealth by converting their fiat currency retirement plans into a plan that is backed by real money. So if you're in a position where you are wondering what you can do in order to diversify or insulate your wealth against what I like to call the inferno of inflation, give Genesis Gold Group a call and they can provide you with the information that you need in order to make an educated decision. Once again, thank you very much, Genesis Gold Group, for sponsoring this video. Debanked. 3 separate coin shop owners. Now remember, we all know of that one that we've seen the video about, but now it's been 3 separate coin shop owners see bank accounts shut down for no reason, all at the same time. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and when will this affect the local coin shop near you? And more importantly, when will it affect us, we the people? When will the banks have had enough of us not complying with our overlords and start to shut down our accounts, effectively demonetizing our lives? Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue, let me go ahead and tell you all that I put a video out earlier this morning about Oupes, which one I believe is the best, and the awesome sale that Oupes is having for the next 10 days. If you're in the market for an Oupes solar generator, or a solar generator in general, go check them out because they have awesome prices going on for the next 10 days. And I stand behind the Oupes brand because I think that they provide you with a very good quality solar generator at an awesome price. So go check them out. I'll go ahead and leave the link to their sites and a coupon code that you can use for an additional 10% off on a pinned comment and on the description of this video. An Ohio-based coin shop owner took to social media this week to inform the world that his regional bank, where he has been a customer in good standing for many years, shut down all 6 of his business and personal accounts suddenly without any notice and for no stated reason. And it turns out that the same thing happened to at least 2 other coin shop owners as well. Why is it only coin shop owners that this is happening to, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I've heard it happen to other people, like regular citizens that don't really have a business or anything like that, but it's kind of weird that it's happening to coin shop owners all at the same time. The coin shop owner, who deals in silver and gold, says he received certified letters from his bank stating that after a recent review, they said, "We have decided to end our relationship with you and close your accounts." But why? As stated in your account agreement, they said that they can close the account at any time that they want and for whatever reason. The coin shop owner received these letters out of the blue, and the bank in question refused to explain why it made this sudden and unexpected decision. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the reason that they made that decision is twofold. One, the actual coin shop owner talks about, but my opinion is that they have to adhere to the ESG policies that have been pushed down through banks, right, and through the UN. Now they have to follow these policies if they want to be in good standing and be able to have capital. They're just closing all my accounts, he explained. They don't want to do business with me. They won't tell him why, and they don't have to tell him why. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you have to be prepared. I'm not a financial advisor. I have to say this because we're on the internet. But I think that keeping some money out of the system, meaning some liquid cash that you can get to in a hurry, you can store it wherever you want. But as long as you can get to it in a hurry, that's a smart thing to do. I believe that instead of having all of my excess wealth in a banking system, that I ought to extract some of that excess wealth and convert it into real money and not monopoly money, which is what they want us to use. I went to my local branch, he says, who I have a good relationship with. Talked to the manager. She tried to find out. They wouldn't tell her. So here I was left thinking, wow, what is going on? What do they think that I could have done? He didn't do anything wrong, ladies and gentlemen. He keeps his books. He does everything by the law. However, he deals in real money. And real money, ladies and gentlemen, yes, gold and silver, is the biggest threat to the Federal Reserve note, i.e. the US dollar, that exists. It is a bigger threat than oil. It is a bigger threat than anything. The only thing that we have to do in order to have a new financial system within the borders of the United States of America is that every time that a working person gets paid, if you go and buy yourself just 1 ounce of silver, every time you get paid, every taxpayer, there's about 150 million jobs, right, that are held by taxpayers. So every time that a taxpayer goes and gets paid, you go and buy 1 ounce of silver, let's say every 2 weeks, we would have a new monetary system, and or the government would decide to confiscate and or make silver and gold illegal. Why? Because the dollar cannot compete against real money. The dollar is a fiat currency that has only one purpose, ladies and gentlemen, and it is to devalue your labor, to take away from you that which you have already earned. I digress. Let's carry on. And talking about the coin shop owner, he says that he's been in full compliance with all necessary regulations, including maintaining anti-money laundering program. And yet he and his family are still being punished for some unknown reason. And it's not only his business account that's been stopped, also all of his personal accounts and his family members as well. In a way, that is kind of scary in the kind of world that we live in today. I've been in business for a long time, he said. I know what to watch out for and avoid certain things or whatever. So I adhere to the law, and I've never had a problem, never. And it's very stressful when this happens. It is so sad, ladies and gentlemen, we have an honest person making an honest living and they're attacked in this way. It's never happened to me in my life, he says. I've never had my banks closed, and I've had multiple accounts. Even my kids' accounts with them was closed, and my wife's account as well. And to me, this is just more confirmation of what's going on. And this is what he thinks is going on. I think it's very valid for him to think this. He thinks that the banks do not like coin shops and other related businesses because of what they represent. They represent freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Since coin shops deal in sound money and banks deal in fake fiat funny money, he says, there is a conflict of interest that in cases like this results in tyranny. And that's what it is, except it's corporate tyranny that is backed up by our government, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in one other case, a coin shop owner in Chicago dealt with a similar situation while banking at Old National Bank. According to her, the bank not only closed her accounts without warning, but also closed several accounts held by her family members. And none of those accounts ever had her name on them. So they even tracked down who her family member accounts were. That doesn't even have her name on them. They closed them as well. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. When attempts to outright silence their opposition fails, the crazies result to closing accounts and pretty much debanking their enemies. We just have to fight through this. We have to figure out how we can get through this, ladies and gentlemen, because eventually it's going to happen to all of us who have a voice and share it with other people in hopes that they wake up. You know why? Because the most dangerous thing to a government is when the idea of freedom spreads, and they don't want that idea to spread. They want you to think that you're already free. Therefore, you don't have to talk about it. Another reason why you should be prepared as far as finances go, as far as keeping an emergency fund liquid that you can get to immediately if you have to. Business stops whenever electronic payment systems go down, because nearly everything is digital and internet based these days. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that if a business goes down and they're down for long enough, that eventually they would revert to accepting cash. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that they would do that. So check around with your local businesses. Like I've checked with a couple of gas stations and I've asked, hey, what happens if the internet goes down and you can't do business? Would you do it, with cash? And they said, yes, eventually we would turn over to cash. So this is a great reason to make sure that you keep a little bit of cash on the side, and also ask around your local vendors. A great example of a couple of local vendors that I know of that would take cash if something happens is the gas station that I talked to, number one, but also there is a little Asian supermarket type place that's not far from where I live. Well, it's a few miles from where I live, but I can go there and pay in cash, and they're not restricted to only using the internet and POS devices and such things like that. So that's another place that you can go to. So there's a couple of little honeypots that I know of that I can go to. I can go to the hardware store, all right, the Ace hardware store, the only one in Fairbanks. They're old school. They take cash. So these are things you have to think about now, ladies and gentlemen, before it happens, whatever that it may be. Millions of merchants were unable to do business this week after the popular small business POS, or point of sale devices, experienced a massive disruption in service, and that business was the Square POS devices. Roughly 64 million, now that's a lot, 64 million small businesses rely on Square to process credit card transactions, to generate sales reports, evaluate profit percentages, and manage their inventory. When the system goes down, so does the business itself. Why in the world would a business owner decide to put all his or her eggs in one basket? You should always have a backup if you're a business owner, right, ladies and gentlemen? And you yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, should also have a backup, and that is called cash. And it's also called, in my opinion, precious metals. I always get a comment or an email now and then where they're like, hey P, things aren't that bad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess it depends who you are. For me, things aren't that bad. I'm in a good place in my life. Even though when I first retired, my retirement check was about half of what I'm getting now. I could buy more with that check than what I can buy now. Even though that's the case, I'm still doing well, right? But most people are not doing well. And that's because of the system. We do not have an honest and just system for we the American people. It is a system that is thwarted to one side, and that is to the side of the 1%, and that is just the truth. I hate saying that 1% thing, but it's the truth. Very small amount of people that are meant to win. The government and the Federal Reserve, they decide, ladies and gentlemen, who wins and who loses, and this is just more proof. U.S. household income fell in 2022. Isn't that something? During a time where we're having a resurgence of inflation, our income is falling even more. For the third straight year due to inflation and rising cost of living. And it's not over. You saw the CPI come out yesterday. It's starting to go back up. And ladies and gentlemen, we haven't even started. You think that 9.1% inflation was a lot? You just wait and see where this next round takes us. Now listen to some of these numbers because they're pretty crazy. U.S. real median household income in 2022 fell by 2.3% to $74,580, down from $76,330 in 2021. Now, hold it for a second, all right, before you get excited about this 74,000 number. Now, median income, ladies and gentlemen, is like the average when you take all of the income. So if you take someone who's making $30,000 a year and you take someone who's making like Jamie Dimon, who's making $30 million a year or something like that, you take it and combine it all together and you divide it by the number of workers. That's the median income, right? So your average, middle class is probably making somewhere in the mid 40s to mid 50s or something like that. Their incomes have really come down a lot, all right? And also you have to consider if it's per household or per person as well. This also represents a 4.7% drop since the U.S. inflation adjusted median household income peaked in 2019. So real wages are going down. Some people may think, just like my retirement pay, man, I'm making more money. Yes, you're making more nominally. More numbers you're getting paid, right? But how much are those more numbers that you're getting paid buying you compared to what it bought you 2 or 3 years ago? And the Census Bureau, ladies and gentlemen, said that in 2022, the national poverty rate was 11.5%, or 37.9. It says 37.9 people here, but I think they meant to put in million, or 37.9 million people who lived in poverty in 2022. This level is relatively unchanged compared to 2021. The weighted average poverty threshold for a family of 4 last year was $29,678. So even though it's unchanged, I thought that I'd read this for you because there are people out there who are living on $30,000 a year, ladies and gentlemen. Family of 4. Think about that. That's what I meant when I told you that 70+ thousand figure. That don't get excited about that, because that doesn't mean that that's what the average person is making. It means that that's the average when you compile all the wages together. But there are 38 million people in the United States of America, probably more, that aren't being captured, that are making less than $30,000 a year, ladies and gentlemen. However, the supplemental poverty measure rate, which accounts for the participation of individuals in government welfare programs, saw the number of Americans receiving government aid double, ladies and gentlemen, from 5.2% to 12.4%, or actually more than double in 2022. I wonder where that more than doubling is coming from. I have an idea, but I'm not sure about that. Inflation in 2022 reached a peak of 9.1% in June. While it has cooled since last year, remains above the Federal Reserve's target rate of 2% roughly. In July, inflation fell to its lowest. So just a couple of months ago, inflation fell to its lowest in years, to 3.2%, and we just got our August numbers, ladies and gentlemen. It's headed back up. Average nominal wage growth grew by 6.8% last year, and while it is higher than expected, it is still not as high as the inflation rate, which means that the wages are not keeping up with inflation, which goes to tell what I've been telling you for years. Your wages will never keep up with inflation. Inflation is a tool to keep you impoverished and keep you a slave to the system. Now let's talk about our friends over at Liberty Safe. Liberty Safe's parent company is a major donor to Democrats who push gun control. I don't care what party you're in. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party. I care not. Follow the damn Constitution, for goodness sakes. You take an oath to it, then follow it. All right? So I don't care who they are giving any money to, what party they're in. What I care about is that they knowingly give money to people that say they're going to uphold the Constitution and then don't. And then now they're in some kind of a campaign, PR campaign, trying to justify that, oh, we are a good company. We've been a good company. Well, now people are starting to look into their past, their history, and their present, and finding out that, hey, maybe you don't want to be doing business with this company. Now, that's my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. That's just my opinion. Other than that, if you want to do business with Liberty Safes, go ahead and do business with them. You know, I wasn't even going to mention this, but I just thought about it. I've been working with this company for like the last 10 months or so. I've been actually actively engaged with this company, buying their products, trying their products, seeing if their products are good, seeing if it's even worth mentioning it. And I've come to the assumption that yes, it's worth mentioning it, and I'll be talking about that, I don't know, maybe next month or something like that. And the reason is because with this company, it's 100%, well, 98 point something percent American made, American resourced, American everything. And the few things that are not 100% American made come from like Canada. So I'm going to talk about that company sometime next month, because it's a way to take a chunk out of these corporations like this, that want to put on a face that they're patriotic, but in the background, they're doing nefarious things that we would never approve of. Liberty Safe's parent company has donated almost $500,000 to pro-gun control Democrat officials. The most notable among the many donations listed were the ones to Senators Raphael Warnock of Georgia, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, and Mark Kelly of Arizona, as well as the former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes of Wisconsin, who lost a bid to unseat Wisconsin's Republican Senator Ron Johnson, in November. All of the donees are pro-gun control. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, I don't want to do business with a company that is pro-gun control, that is against our constitutional rights. You can do business with whoever you want because you are a free person in this country and you can do business with whom you want. And I understand that sometimes it is a double-edged sword. Sometimes we don't really have a choice but to do business with some companies that maybe we wouldn't do business with otherwise should we have an option. But let's just take one quick example before I close this video out. Solar generators. You all know that I love them. You all know that I love the Oupes brand solar generator, right? And where do they come from? Where are almost all of the solar generators made? They're made in China, in Hong Kong. Then why do we purchase them? They're made in China. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they're really not made anywhere else. And anywhere else that does make them, they're not competitive to the least. Let me tell you a quick story because I know you like my stories. And if you're still with me at this part of the video, you're awesome. I went searching for a solar generator that was made in the United States of America. And I asked around and someone sent me a link to a solar generator that's made here in the United States. It's made in America, by America. Even the batteries are made here in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, you see this Oupes solar generator here? This is the Oupes 1200. The generator that I was looking at that's made here in the United States is a 1,000 continuous watt output. It had a 1,500 watt hour capacity, right? So it had a 1,000 watt inverter, 1,500 watt hour capacity, and it had a solar input of, I think it was like 200 watts, and also an AC input of about 200 or so watts. So it's very similar to this machine right here. The problem is that that machine, it used AGM batteries, which are not lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are kind of like the best batteries in the industry, right? And also makes the machine a lot bigger and a lot heavier. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that machine had pretty much the same capabilities as this. This machine right here has almost 1,000 watt hours of storable energy. I think it's 992. I always mess up those numbers. But let's say 1,000 watt hours of storable energy. It has a 1,200 watt continuous output inverter. This machine right now costs less than 500 bucks. The machine that I looked at, unfortunately, even though it was made in the US, it's like $3,500. Ladies and gentlemen, in all good conscience, I cannot ask someone out there who's on a budget, who's got these inflation measures to have to put up with, to pay 7 times more for the exact same product. I hope that one day, here in the US, we will go back to our roots, where we used to be the country that manufactured that other country says, we're going to get this because it was made in the US. Because they make the very best products at the very best prices, because there's competition and free market principles. I wish that we get back to that day, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that one day we will. But until then, what are you going to get? So you have to just, deal with your conscience. Do you want to get this or not? Is it something that you really need or not? And if you want to get it and it's not made here, then it's not made here. But what are you going to do if you need it and it's not made here? Not get it? But those companies and those things that we do want to get, if we can support those that are on our side, that say America first, freedom first, we the people first, the Constitution, the rule of law first, by all means, those are the companies that we have to support. But until we are a manufacturing superpower, once again, we have to do what we have to do. Having said that, I hope that you have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in today. And again, if you are still here, you are awesome. Have a great day. Remember to go check out the video that I put out earlier this morning on the Oupes solar generators that I recommend, the one that I think is the best, and the awesome prices that they're going to have from now all the way through the 24th of this month. And guess what? Being that this is National Preparedness Month, I'll be reviewing at least another couple of solar generators before the end of the month, and I'll probably be putting up a video of a small solar generator from a different company other than Oupes, probably sometime this weekend. Again, have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.